saying this is the band that you felt like you didn't have a voice in.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was a family-based, how would you word
Two
it?
brothers jamming.
Yeah.
Two
and
brothers
then their
jamming.
father was in control of us.
Was the manager.
And a lot of things went down financially.
How does
I was
that
taken advantage of.
Yeah, how does that I'm curious. So like you guys are minors, right?
I turned 18 at some point.
Okay.
But I did started working as a minor.
Okay.
Yes.
And we'll get into maybe how it started in a second. But like, so this like somebody's dad is getting you guys shows booked, and then he's taking, let's just say to keep the numbers easy, let's say you guys get $1,000 for a show or something like that. He's taking a chunk off the top, and then he's giving some money to his kids and you.
No, it's actually worse than that. So
does he have a job?
No, he had.
That was his job.
He had recently become unemployed, and so that's not my business, honestly. But looking back on it, it's kind of funny, right?
We can make fun of him a little bit. Yeah, that's embarrassing, man.
It's funny how we'll get into it. Okay. Sorry, there's so much. So it's hard to stay.
It's hard to stay. Don't be offended if I'll try to reel you in.
Keep me on track. So okay.
So you were in high school, I imagine, and then you meet these couple of guys that are brothers that are wanting to do a band.
Yes.
You guys get linked up.
So what was good about this was I wasn't in school. I was working from home, so it wasn't like I was getting any new experience. So I did feel a little bit trapped, and being on stage, like if you see me live performing, it's like I go somewhere else. So I always wanted to perform, and so that's why I think I also held on as long as I did, because I wanted to be on the stage singing to people.
And as far as you were aware, because your world was maybe so small at the time, that you were like, this is the only way I can do that. So you maybe put up with more.
Yeah, so I did put up with a lot. And so it almost reminds me of like a toxic relationship, honestly, because we'll start with this. We'll start with rehearsals. So I would have rehearsal every single day, and we would have the same set for every show, though. So it was like we were practicing something that's already put together. Now, they're also brothers, so they would argue in rehearsal. So I always just felt like it's like when you're talking to like your principal at school or like a teacher, that's how I felt around them constantly. Like I just never felt like myself as a person. Like I had to. Yeah, I never felt comfortable. So I never wanted to be there. And I think that's what they were seeing. Well, that's
every day. This is cover songs too you guys are doing?
Yeah, cover songs that like I've been listening to since I was like if this tells you anything about me, I was learning the songs, multiple songs that they wanted me to learn on my 15-minute car ride to their house.
Yeah, and I mean, and I know we talked about it a little bit before we went live, and I'll try to bring it back around to that a little bit later in the episode, but I know you talked that you've had some issues with your vocal cords and whatnot, being stressed out. That seems pretty stupid to be practicing every single, for a singer to be going that hard for however long you were going every single day is a little overkill for like, and I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, but for bar gigs, right? Like you guys don't need to be doing that.
I mean, I just recently, my band now, we're like this, and my boys were like, you cannot be giving for a bar gig. They're like, they had to like check me for a second and be like, you need to readjust what you're doing, kind of like you're giving your all, because that's what I do.
Yeah, and it's great to do
that. Give, and I love to do it. I love to work hard, but then it gets me at the end because I feel like I don't get anywhere.
Yeah, well, especially if you're doing things in a way where you don't half-ass them, that's great, and I don't think you should ever stop doing that. But you just knowing when and where to use that skill, because not everybody has that, so it's great that you have it. And you should use it, but just getting a better filter, like okay, this one I don't need to do that for this.
Well, and I think that honestly, being a part of my very first experience with the music industry, just who I am as an artist, and I learned very quickly, and I do believe I was gifted a very strong talent. I learned so much from those live gigs. I learned like how to be a live artist. Like I learned how to gig. And so once I got that from them, like doing those covers, then things started to slip. And I would be stuck there. They would be arguing that if I, let's say, didn't make it to a rehearsal, they would be calling my mom like, is Sarah actually doing this? And my mom's like, what?
Yeah.
Like what?
And
Like,
you guys are really practicing like 6-7 days a week?
for
or?
like to sing the Eagles and Journey. Like for what?
Yeah, holy shit.
And it's like, that's the thing is now,
Which
now,
wait,
like
which Journey song? You're not doing
all
Don't
of
Stop
them.
Believing.
No,
were
I was
you?
doing all of them. So that's what I want to get. I need to say this really quickly. So
Yeah.
like we were just saying about vocal health and like
Yeah.
it's a lot. Imagine singing Don't Stop Believing-esque
Yeah.
for 4 hours straight.
Mm.
I was booking Friday night, 2 Saturday shows, and sometimes 2 Sundays. And he would overwork me to the point where I would lose my voice, and then
Yeah.
he would say like, we need to get you a coach. You need training. You should not be losing your voice this much. I'm like, I'm singing every single day, all day long. What do you mean? What do you mean I need a teacher?
And maybe Buddy's dad could pay for the fucking
Right,
vocal coach.
right.
I don't know.
Well,
like that's just a thought.
Right. So when we were talking about the percentages, so we would get paid for a show. He would take a percentage for being our manager.
What's the percentage?
I want to say 25 to 15
Whoa.
or 20. I want to say.
Yeah.
I mean, because they were just so like business, but like it was their way or the highway.
That's
type of
exploitative
deal.
is what that
it
is.
was
That's not
very
business, yeah.
exploitation. But
Yeah.
then, so on top of that, we would do a lot of gigs, a lot of really cool gigs, and I would fill up my tip jar. I'm telling you, like, and it's like a scientific fact, because let me get into this. I would get overworked so hard to the point where I couldn't sing. They would hire a random singer to come in and fill in so that they would make money that night. And I wouldn't. Like
Yeah.
I would, so they would go book more gigs, find another singer when I like physically couldn't
How
sing
old are you
anymore.
during this time? You get
So
again
this
18,
was
19.
from, I want to say like 16 to like 20 maybe, 19.
This is just a weird scenario.
Yes. And then,
Like
so
somebody-
on top of that, I'd fill up the tip jar, and then at the end of the show, we would take a chunk of it, and it was never like the same amount every time. They would decide based on how much we made that day. And they would say, "Oh, we're going to put this in the band fund."
And Pops is getting a cut of this?
I
not the
mean,
tips,
he
but the other stuff?
wasn't getting a cut, let's say, like of that band fund, but he was in control of how it was being spent. He, like, we would buy equipment with it, and I knew, because I remember being young, and like I would try. This was the thing about this all, is I would try to use my voice, and it's weird. I did use my voice, but they were so good at manipulating and like, well, we have to run through this one more time to get me to stay longer. And like it would be in person, so I couldn't be like, well, actually no, I'm leaving right now. I don't care.
You're
what
in
you
their
say.
house, I imagine.
Yes,
right?
and
Yeah.
I'm young, and I already think it's like this weird dynamic of like power.
It's just
And I was the face of it all.
yeah.
So that made me give up, honestly, for
Yeah.
a while.
I could see that, beating you down.
So
over
much more
time.
went into that. I mean, they were wanting me to write with them, and I tried my best, and I try not. Well, like I said at the beginning, this is my experience, and I'm entitled to it, and I have never spoken about this ever. So I don't really feel bad for it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels
And
weird to
well,
me.
honestly, the dad to this day, I mean, he's randomly called my mom. He has tried to get me to come back too.
Hey, Pops,
And so if
what's
you're
up?
seeing this,
Drop a comment,
like,
bro.
if you're
What's good?
No, if you're seeing this,
Yeah.
with as little respect as possible, I hope I never see you again.
Well, here's what I gotta say, dude. This is the picture. I'm gonna paint a picture for you real quick. Just pretend that there's some guy in his 40s or 50s who's got a couple of kids that are 19 years old, and they have some chick helping them out, right? And I'm sending a couple of fucking emails, and I'm cutting myself a check for 25% of whatever they're making. That's fucking weird, dude.
Well, now that I'm 23 years old and I do it myself,
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm sure you're pissed. You're like, dude,
I'm like, what?
he sent a DM to this bar.
literally, what the fuck
Yeah.
was I doing?
Yeah. Yeah, and probably back then, I mean, he was probably just walking into a bar and being like, "Hey, can my fucking kids play here?" And they were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And he's
I
like,
mean-
"Oh, can I get $500 for it?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I'm gonna take 200 of this, give them the rest,
Yeah.
and they can split it up."
Hey, thanks for watching there, guy.
click right over here if you want to see that episode in its entirety. Or you can click over here and subscribe to the channel. See all the other fun shit we do here. It's really up to you, guy.